Hello, viewers. Jordan JT Trainer here with something rather difficult to share. I'm usually not one to talk much about stuff regarding my personal life, but I feel this is something that should be addressed, so bear with me. Before I start, I want to apologize for not uploading any new videos on here or my other channels in a while. Life and circumstances beyond my control have prevented me from having the time to really work on anything the past few months. I mean, I have a couple videos in the works for my other channels, but again, circumstances haven't really been giving me the time for them. Don't worry though, because the videos are more than halfway done, so if all goes well, they should be up soon. So hang tight. Okay. July 20th is pretty much my least favorite day of the year, because two people I really cared about passed away on this day. First person is my grandmother, whom most of my cousins and I refer to as Gram. Since the day I was born, my grandmother has lived alongside my mom and me. Even though she was often a pain in the ass and got into spurts with my mom, I still loved her and enjoyed being around her as she got me into a lot of stuff, such as certain TV shows and movies. She even got me into reading, because she loved reading. Yeah, it's because of her I got into stuff like Harry Potter and the Percy Jackson series. She even helped me with my homework from time to time. Things seemed to be going fine with her during my childhood years, but then in 2002 she developed a stroke, and not only did a lot of her motor skills shut down, but the stroke also caused her to look older than she actually was. Despite that though, she still managed to get around, and even though she was a little more of a pain in the ass than before, I still loved her all the same, and she helped me get around stuff. Yeah, she managed to get by for a little more than 10 years since that stroke. It all seemed okay. But then in early June, she suddenly fell ill and ended up in the hospital. Yeah, it was early June of 2013. My grandmother suddenly fell ill, ended up in the hospital, and doctors couldn't really figure out what was wrong with her. So she stayed there for 40 days exactly. During her time there, my mom visited the hospital a lot to mostly make amends with Graham, since, as I mentioned earlier, my mom and Graham often had spats, which were more frequent after she had that stroke in 2002. Yeah. I myself was able to visit Graham 2 or 3 times in the hospital, and I wouldn't say it wasn't a pretty sight, but it was also kind of uneasy seeing that stuff hooked to Graham. Yeah, it's like she was dying, which actually is what happened eventually. Yep. On the morning of July 20th, my grandmother left this earth, and my mom was with her during her final hours. My grandmother, dead at age 80 on July 20th, 2013. After my grandmother passed, I went to her wake, and then the week after that, I went to her funeral. It was the very first funeral I ever been to. It's not a pretty sight, because just seeing someone you loved get buried, it's just so sad. I was sad. Even my family that was there showed concern for me because I rarely ever cry in front of anyone besides my mom and a couple of my aunts. Yeah. Oh, let me sub a bit. So, my grandmother is one person who passed away on this day. And the second person is Linkin Park frontman Chester Bennington. During my early to mid-teens, I was in a pretty dark place. Like, even though I had a few friends and got along with a few of the teachers, I was pretty antisocial. Like, I didn't really talk much to other people. And I also, I guess, felt pretty depressed for a little while. But one day when I heard the Linkin Park song Numb for the very first time, I suddenly felt a lot happier. Well, maybe not happier, but I did feel a lot less depressed. And the moment I heard the song Numb, I listened to other Linkin Park songs and they instantly became one of my favorite bands. And they're from Chester Bennington became a very inspirational person to me, even though I never met him, or really any celebrity for that matter. Even though the band had its ups and downs during most of the 2010s, I still enjoyed a lot of their music. And at one point it seemed like they were actually going to make a huge comeback. But then, on the morning of July 20th, 2017, it was reported that Chester Bennington had taken his own life at only 41. This sudden news shocked and devastated a majority of the world. Even some non-Linkin Park fans were pretty crushed by it. As I explained, Chester was a very inspirational person. Like, he showed that heavy metal is not all just screaming and yelling and stuff most of the time. But he also helped people who were struggling like he was. And to hear that he took his own life, I guess, even though he had a loving wife and children and friends who really cared about him, just wasn't enough to save him. I mean, nobody really knows why he did it. Some say he was either drunk or on drugs when he offed himself. Nobody really knows for sure. But whatever the case, a lot of people, myself included, were sad when Chester died unexpectedly. And after his passing, many people, both celebrities and online people, YouTubers and stuff, they did tributes to Chester Bennington by performing certain Linkin Park songs, Numb being one of them. I myself even made a tribute to Chester after his passing. I uploaded it on YouTube 5 years ago when my other channel, JTrain027, was still up. Since Chester's passing, the band Linkin Park went on hiatus for a while. Honestly, I don't think they'll ever be the same without Chester. And if they ever find someone to replace them, which seems very unlikely, I'm sure it'll piss a lot of people off because, yeah, Linkin Park's just not the same without Chester. I'm sorry if I seem a little out of it. Just talking about this is kind of messing me up. Okay, not kind of, it's messing me up a lot. Like, I have difficulty really talking about this. But I will say that I miss those two a lot. I really do. Miss them so much that I actually made a tribute video to them a few years ago on July 20th, 2018. I actually posted just 5 days before my YouTube channel, JTrain027, got taken down. Didn't really get much attention before that happened, which is a shame. But fortunately, I still had that video saved in my computer, along with the other tribute I mentioned. I moved into my Google Drive. I'll be sure to share links to that below. Okay, I'm not sure if I can do this anymore, so now you pretty much have the idea why I don't like July 20th. So I think I'll just end it here. So thank you for watching, and rest in peace to Graham and Chester. Miss you both so much. I'm going to end this before I start to cry.